to much to the chagrin of the vast majority of the Twitterverse. Jeff the GK is back, and and that has brought good old brother Camp back as well. I guess they've done some sort of a webcast, and it's back to the issue of interfaith dialogue and all the rest of that kind of stuff. And what I didn't realize was that while I was getting ready to get in here and do this program and get things queued up and all the rest of this stuff, a thread developed in Twitter, and yes, you can hear me slowly getting back to it here, where someone had looked up Yasser Qadhi's Twitter address and had thrown it in. And so he became tagged in what was being said. And what I want to point you to is a couple things. First of all, both Brother Camp and Brother Jeff think that as long as you hit the right points in a tweet, then you've done what you needed to do. You've now witnessed to Yasser Qadhi. And so that was part of what was going on here, is that's what they were doing, is they were witnessing to Yasser Qadhi. Make sure that he knows, as if part of this is so incredibly disrespectful. They don't have any idea who he is. They're not doing any type of interaction with him. They're not preparing any of this material so that it would actually be understandable to someone in Dr. Qadhi's position. It's extremely disrespectful. And all you got to do is read some of the stuff that Steve has posted today, and you'll see the purpose is offense, not in any way really to present anything that would be heard by Dr. Qadhi. But Dr. Qadhi actually responded, and I wanted to read this. He saw what was being said, and he said, I typically don't respond to such issues, and forgive me if I don't continue. But everyone in our mosque got the point that Dr. Oakley, that's my Twitter handle, Dr. Oakley 1689, was making. And he made it with tact and wisdom. I presume someone of your inclination would have given the same message in a blunter way. The fact that he followed a better route, according to both Jesus' methodology and common sense, seems to irritate you. But his message was clear. The only way to salvation is through Jesus. That's his view, and us Muslims respectfully disagree. Can we live in peace now? That was his response. And of course, that was followed then by, well, you need to know this, 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 and this, as if Yasser Qadhi doesn't know those things. And as if just throwing them out there is somehow going to ring true. If you don't show respect for the person you're talking to as a human being, don't expect them to hear your words. We all know this in other contexts, but it just seems there are certain people who, because of the current situation in our world, forget that Muslims are human beings. And, I'm not going to talk about things that have happened since last year, doors that have been opened, possibilities of relationships that have developed where you could actually be able to, for once, be able to demonstrate to the Muslim people, to individual Muslims themselves, that you actually care enough to accurately represent them, to show them respect as human beings. The gospel is directed to human beings. And unfortunately, especially Steve Camp thinks that one of the best ways of dealing with Muslims, that is the danger of talking about both Mormonism and Islam in the same program, that one of the best ways to, just get them to see the truth is to refer to their pedophile prophet. Now, I would think that if Steve sat back and thought just a little bit about people approaching him and what might help their message get through to him, that he might recognize that using that kind of language demonstrates that you have no interest whatsoever in actually talking to the other person. You are talking at them. And you haven't done any serious reflection upon not only methodology, but upon the content of what it is that you're saying. And especially when you're talking to an Islamic scholar who has done countless hours of lectures on the life of Muhammad. I have not listened to everything that Yasser Qadhi has done on that, but Yasser Qadhi will tell you that he knows I have listened to many hours of his lectures, not only on Muhammad. I listened to all of Hamza Yusuf's series, and I've listened to Yasser Qadhi, and I've listened to a bunch of Yasser Qadhi's lectures on the Sahaba, so those that were around Muhammad. Don't you think that maybe, just possibly, I might have a little more of an opportunity to say something meaningful to Yasser Qadhi when I've actually taken the time to respect him as a human being and to know what he believes, than someone on Twitter who decides in their first or second tweet to use that kind of language without ever having listened to a word the man has to say outside of the dialogue that we had last year? I mean, I know I'm stating what is painfully obvious here. Painfully obvious. But that's what happened 4 hours ago. And we've been on the air for 2 hours. So just 2 hours before the program started. That's what was going on Twitter. You can see it, to this point. But it allowed, these guys set it up so that Dr. Qadhi, by just simply being a thoughtful person, could make them look horrific and make their presentation of truths without a context, without preparation, and hence, well, to use biblical language, a clanging gong. Not the beautiful music of the gospel, but just, I'm going to get you. I'm going to tell you. There is a reason why Dr. Qadhi and I's dialogue last year had a very different reception outside the United States. And especially amongst people who they don't live their lives in social media. They actually live their lives in the real world. They had a very different view of it than many of those who are keyboard warriors. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason